Hello and welcome. Tonight, we return to our fictional horror stories. This one takes place in a college and involves an unruly young man. As always, these stories are written exclusively for this channel, so if you would like to support these creative efforts, please like and subscribe. Let's get into it. It's 10 a.m. on a Tuesday in February, as everyone shuffles to find a seat in the large college auditorium. I sit down in the exact middle of the large classroom, about 8 rows up from the professor, and the same number of rows away from the top of the classroom, and about 20 seats in from each side. It just seems polite to sit here so people don't have to step around me to get to a spot. I slide up the flat desk from around the side of my chair and put my laptop on top of it, then settle in for a lecture, keeping my elbows tight to my sides so I don't invade anyone's personal space. Moments later, the teacher enters the classroom wearing tan slacks and a green knit sweater. She steps up to the platform and adjusts the microphone to her height. I hear shuffling and people shouting, "Hey!" and "Watch it!" I try not to be obvious as I glance around to check out the commotion. As I do so, the first thing I notice isn't a sight. It's a smell. Someone back there smells like they spent the night marinating in whiskey. As quietly as possible, I cough and squint against the fumes. 2 rows up from me is a guy in a gray sweatshirt, ripped jeans, and short dark hair. He's rudely pushing his way down the aisle. His black backpack slung over one shoulder in a way that makes it clear he doesn't have books or laptop in there. Maybe just cans of beer from the way it hangs. I've had this class for over a month now, and I've never seen this guy here. Maybe he's still so drunk he wandered into the wrong classroom, I think. Then I rub my eyebrow as he finds an empty spot exactly 2 rows behind me. He leans back in his chair, resting his head in his hands, elbows spread wide, and places his feet on the top of the chair in front of him, bumping the head of the girl sitting there, who whips around, glares at him, and then moves to a different chair. The guy smiles smugly and remains where he is. Great, I think. I'm going to have to smell him the whole lecture. The teacher clears her throat, places both hands on the microphone, smiles, and says, "Hello, class. As I hope you know, we have a test coming up at the end of the week. So today, let's do a review. How about we start with something easy? Can anyone tell me what causes people to fall to the ground?" She releases the microphone and puts her hands behind her back as she scans the audience, eyebrows raised. The guy behind me shouts out, "Alcohol!" The teacher drops her eyebrows, but otherwise pretends she can't hear him. A few people chitter, but then another girl calls out, "Gravity?" The teacher nods her head towards the girl and says, "That's right, gravity. Well done." The teacher rubs her hands slowly as a sly smile creeps across her face. "All right, something a little more difficult. What is the area of space where gravity is so strong that no light can get out, and what causes this to happen?" The teacher rises up on her toes as she waits for a response. I tighten my shoulders, and it's as if I can feel the guy behind me revving up. He adjusts himself in the chair so it squeaks, and I hear him unzip his backpack. Then he shouts, "College is the darkest place, because of the cost." No one laughs at this, because maybe it hits too close to home, and I think about my own financial situation. about the 5-figure debt I owe Freddie Mac. The teacher presses her lips together and plays with the stone on her necklace, pulling it away from her chest, but otherwise pretends she can't hear him. I hunker down in my chair and subtly peek over my shoulder at the guy. He no longer has his hands behind his head. Now they rest in his lap, under his backpack. I spot a glint of metal under the black backpack, and my mind splits. "That's a gun," said part of my brain, while the other half immediately replied, "Nope, no way, that can't be a gun." In the half second it took me to have these thoughts, the guy notices me looking. He looks down at his lap, then up at me, and winks. I gasp and turn back to face the teacher. Carefully, I pick my backpack up and clutch it tight to my chest. Using only my eyes but keeping my head still, I look right and then left, eyeballing how long it would take me to get up and make it out the exit. I conclude that it would take a painfully long time to maneuver past all the people in my row. Why did I have to be so polite and sit in the middle? And what if getting up triggers him to open fire? My breathing shallows. In the background, I hear the teacher say, "That's right, a black hole. And they're generally caused by the death of a large star. A supernova explosion." Next question. What tends to destroy when it contacts ordinary matter? There's a commotion behind me. I instinctively crouch down in my chair and peer backwards. The sweatshirt guy had jumped to his feet and shouted, "Me!" as he points his gun at those around him. He's surrounded by people who shrink away from him as he turns from side to side pointing his gun. I hide behind my chair, only my eyes peering over the edge to watch him. What can I use to shield myself? I think. My crappy laptop? I carefully close the lid and hold it up to my face while still facing backwards. Behind me, the teacher says, Okay. Let the kids go. Maybe we can talk?" The guy shakes his head, saying, No, that won't help. That won't help." Then under his breath, so only those in his immediate vicinity could hear him, he says, "What are we supposed to do?" He relaxes the gun slightly by his side, as a film of tears coats his eyes. Behind him, a girl approaches, tiptoeing and holding her laptop. Her face twists in a grimace, looking angry and without a trace of fear. I use all of my powers of concentration to keep my eyes on him, so he doesn't notice me looking behind him. The girl behind him grits her teeth and whacks him at the base of his skull with the edge of her laptop. He drops his gun, and I release all of my politeness as I spring from my chair along with my classmates. Some people grab his hair, while others hold down his arms and legs. Another person kicks the gun down the aisle away from the attacker. Eventually, campus security shows up and takes the guy away. I later learn that the girl who had hit the guy with her laptop had lost a brother in a school shooting and was all too happy to be able to vent some of her anger. The guy, on the other hand, had lost 2 of his biggest scholarships. He had spent his whole high school career grinding to get straight A's and to be in all the right clubs. By the time he got to college, he was already burned out and leaned in hard to drugs and partying. Evidently, his resulting cognitive dissonance between who he used to be and who he was now was more than he could bear. Thank you for listening. If you're wondering what the answer to that last test question was, it was antimatter. And if you want more horror, why not check out the video on the screen now? It's called "What Are My Dogs Barking At?" A note about this video, I have a sister channel, which are these exact stories but in Portuguese, And this video was hands down the most popular one. Consider checking out what all the fuss was about and clicking.